Boom, there we go. Hello, I am recording. This is Trina Gray, and we are doing the very end of my 12 months to a better business and life. Hopefully you were at my Idea World Pre-Con, and you have this book called 12 Months to a Better Business and Life. We pounded through a lot of revenue streams. We pounded through a lot of social media. We pounded through a lot of business tips, but I want to finish the different life gems that I wrote up for you, because I think some of the magic was at the end of this presentation right here. And I want to make sure you have everything that you could have gotten from me. So I'm going to screen share and jump to those slides. And here we go. So we left off on environment, and get this right. Okay. So if you're in your journal, I'm on environment. We already talked about this, that, oh my gosh, listen, I Zoom all the time, but this is just so weird today. I got to just move you right over. Ta-da! Now I got it. Your mind is a garden. This concept came from Robin Sharma. I shared this with you guys, but I'm going to start at the beginning of environment and pound through these three quick chapters. Your mind is a garden is a concept from Robin Sharma. It originally started that I read about it in his book called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. The concept is that your most precious commodity in life are your own thoughts. We get most off track in business and life when we don't control our own thoughts. So I didn't even share this piece at the event. You get most off track in life and business when you don't control your own thoughts. So other people and other events have a tendency to influence our thoughts, and leaders and successful people learn how to control their thoughts. We have, on average, 60,000 thoughts a day. 60,000 thoughts a day. Research shows 95% of those thoughts are the same thoughts as the day before. We have 95% of the same thoughts run through our head. Only 5% of our day is original thinking. So here's the problem. If the 95% of thoughts that you are basically throwing in a backpack and carrying with you from day to day, if they're negative, do you see how it just compounds? It does. So you have to learn to get rid of negative thoughts throughout your day so you're not carrying them with you day to day. So your mind is a garden, and you want to see yourself as having like lush greens, flowers. If you're a green thumb, I'm not. You can name the different flowers in your garden. You want to envision that that's your mind. A lot of amazing things can happen in a lush garden. Creativity can prosper, serenity, peacefulness. These are great words to think about that you want in your head. A negative thought, a worry, worrying about what somebody thinks about you, a judgment, worrying about something that you can't control anyway, worrying about your teammates, your employees, your clients, things in their life that are really outside of your sphere of influence. Those are just toxifying your garden. Okay, so all these points, there's a lot I could share in it, but I just want you to understand the concept, and it's your job after this to do deeper thinking on all these topics. Where do you need to get better? This has been a really big one for me, a profound one for me as a leader. I feel like I've done a much better job in the past couple of years of personal development, especially about keeping the weeds out, keeping negative thoughts out, and replacing them with positive ones. So I gave the example of opposition thinking. I hope that you've done some thought on this since then. If you haven't, I'm going to challenge you today. You need to write down 2 positive memories, 2 positive places that you like to go in your head. One's a personal situation, a place that you love to be with your family, which is the example I have on the screen. I love being out on the lake, out on my pontoon boat with my kids and my husband. Another situation, I want you to picture yourself in a business situation that you're thriving, where you're happy, whether you're in the trenches working with a client, teaching a group fitness class, leading a team meeting, working on ideas for your facility. Where do you feel most on fire, most alive? Own those 2 thoughts really clearly. In my head, I actually picture who's in the scene, what I feel like in the scene, all of that. I actually, on this picture, envision my dogs on my lap on the boat. So when a negative thought pops into my head, I've been training myself to look at it, think, is there something I'm supposed to be doing on that? If not, I let it pass right through and I replace it with a positive thought. It's powerful. The most successful people learn how to control their thoughts. All right, putting negative people outside of your bubble. Today's a perfect day for a perfect day. Just a great quote to remind you that you decide what attitude you're bringing into the day. You decide who you are showing up as that day. That's a great line. You decide who you are showing up as in life that day. You cannot let the baggage, the woe is me of the people around you influence who you are. That doesn't mean you can't care for them or love on them or help them, but I just don't let other people's stuff get in my space because I have too much greatness to create to let that in. You cannot create a great empire of a business or a life or whatever it is for you, a great purposeful career, if you are constantly being attacked with negativity from the outside. Okay. Sometimes I envision putting a bubble around it, and I just don't have people who generally lead with a negative conversation. They're not on my speed dial. They're not in my Facebook Messenger. I'm not following them on Facebook. I'm not returning their phone calls. Like, I just put myself in a bubble. And I have a tighter circle. I like to work with a lot of different people, but I have a tighter circle, kind of who I share my energy with. And I don't think that's selfish. I actually think that that's serving, because I can't serve and build a great business and do the things I want to do and be a teacher and a leader if my energy is getting sucked. Okay? So it's not selfish to put negative people outside of your sphere of influence. It is serving the world better by protecting yourself. Listen, this could be in your own household. This could be a family member. This could be someone that you work with. Do you have control over how much time and energy and conversation you have? That's all I'm asking. If it's someone that you have the ability to let go from your team, right, that's another story, then yes, take those actions. But you don't have the ability to maybe remove a sister or remove a family member, but you can remove their influence on your life. And I like to just be really blunt about that and give you permission that not everybody who has been in your life up till now is meant to be in your life forever. They can be in your heart. They don't need to be in your daily life. All right. Keep negative people outside of your bubble if you truly want to create great things in the world. Save your energy. All right. I shared with you the story about my son having this great experience at the Michigan hockey arena and getting off the ice. And instead of being happy at the end of this amazing game, he's 10, he got to play at this arena. He slammed his bag and stormed by me because his coaches said that they skated with slow legs and that they looked tired and that they weren't passing the puck well. And you recall me saying, I stopped him in his tracks, made him take this picture to remember this scene, and said, don't let anybody take your greatness. This was an incredible opportunity. Look around you at this beautiful stadium. A coach says you didn't skate as fast at 7 a.m. on a Sunday. He thinks your team didn't pass as well. Cool. You're always going to have people knocking on you in life. You're going to have people poking at you. You're going to have people criticizing you, especially if you're on a mission to build a business. Oh, it's so much easier to criticize, right? A lot of Monday morning quarterbacks in the world. I said to him, you got out on the ice and you skated your heart out, and you're going to remember the situation. You're not going to let anybody take away your greatness. Guys, this has been one of the hardest things for me to learn as a leader, that not everybody wants your success. Hopefully, if you're a good person and a kind person, people are cheering you on in life and encouraging you and supporting you. And hopefully you're giving that back. But listen, it's not Pollyannish. People don't want you to be successful a lot of times because they're scared of it for themselves. They don't want you to take risks because they wouldn't take those risks. People want to pull you down to where they are. Now, I know I'm stating this, really bluntly, and there's amazing people in the world and amazing people in your life. I'm not talking about them. Bless them. Wonderful. I'm talking about the people who want to pull you back down. Those people are all around, and you just have to limit their influence. Don't let them take away your greatness. This is where we ended off. This is my daughter walking to volleyball camp a couple weeks ago. She was at the University of Wisconsin, this huge, huge volleyball camp. And I was in tears taking this picture right here because here she is, number 136 on her back by herself. She was I'm telling you, the only kid who went by herself. We live in Michigan. We flew to Wisconsin so she could go to this camp. I have family in the city that we wanted to visit, and their volleyball team is ranked number 2 in the country. If you want to be the best, you got to learn from the best. All right. So I took her there for the week. When we got to registration, I pit in mom's stomach big time because every single girl was in matching shirts with her friend, matching socks. They all have on these Adidas flip-flops. They're all matching backpacks. They're traveling in herds. They all came as a team. Well, none of our other teammates from Northern Michigan were able to make this trip. So there she is by herself, and I'm sitting at the table over here. I looked at this posse of girls, and I just said, I mean, I honestly didn't have the words of wisdom that I needed. I just was honest, and I said, Jade, this is going to be uncomfortable. This is going to be kind of scary. You're going to just have to step outside your comfort zone and talk to somebody and meet a new friend. And it's in those places of, and you've heard this lesson many times in many ways, but I want you to see this one. Maybe you've been there. I need you to step outside of your zone. That's where the greatest learning is going to take place in life. Nothing great happens in your own cocoon, right? So she walked into that group, my tears streaming down my face. I go and get my car and drive away, and thought all day, what did she do? What did she do? What did she do? And when I got to see her at the end of the camp, she said, Mom, it was the longest walk of my life, from right here at the Student Union all the way to the Kohl Center where they played. It was the longest walk of my life. And when we got inside the Kohl Center, I sat down and I thought, it's now or never. And I looked at the girl next to me and I said, hey, I'm a setter and an outside hitter. How about you? And she said, it just took that first bravery, that first step, right? I want you to just think about this in life. It's sometimes the hardest things that grow us the most. Maybe you already are a really brave person, but if you're not, I hope this story of Jade helps find the bravery in you. All right, we're in the section on time right here. You may have an extra slide in your packet. It says, you are in fitness, be in it. I don't want to skip that one. I don't have it in my slide deck at the moment. Here's what I want you to say, what I want to say about this one. You're in fitness, be in it. Part of your environment is your physicality, is your body. So a lot of the section we talked about, protecting your mindset, protecting your heart from others, being brave, but you're in fitness, be in it. If you want to create great things in life, you have to have the strength to do it, right? I think that I'm talking to people who already know this, but don't forget that you need sleep, rest, recovery, strength, fitness, fortitude to really be great. That's part of your environment. Okay, on the time section, my first one is there's no glory in broke, no glory in burnout. I wrote all these. These are my own lessons that I like. And I love this one because there is just this like philosophy in the fitness industry that we're all just supposed to work like dogs. And of course, we don't make any money. Why would people be in fitness and make money? You wouldn't have picked this career. And I was at a retreat actually about a month ago with Peter Davis from IDEA. We were both randomly met up at this personal development seminar in Toronto. And we were having breakfast and he said to me, what do you see in the industry? And for some reason, this is like what I thought of. And I said, Peter, I just feel like there's this like glory and like, yeah, I'm broke, I'm overworked, but I got in fitness. This is just the way it goes, just the grind. I didn't say that's not true. I just don't think it's true, right? There's no glory in being overworked and underpaid, right? This isn't like the industrial era. This is like the era of entrepreneurs. This is, if you have a talent, you'll get paid by the number of people you influence and the depth that you influence them. That's it. That means you either got to influence a lot of people or you take a smaller group of people and go deeper with them. There's no reason to be broke in this industry. Prevention is a huge business. There's no reason why acute care and doctors should make more than a trainer. I understand they put more money into their education. That's cool. That's your choice. I decided when I opened my club and was going to give my life to wellness that it's not all about the money. It was my value, that my value was greater than a physician, was greater than an anesthesiologist, that I was in wellness. I was in prevention. I was saving people money. I was adding years to their life. I had to see myself at the value of the highest paid people in the medical field. I would really like for you to start seeing yourselves that way. If you hold yourself at that high value and if you deliver at that value, you will find that value in your business and life. Don't underestimate who you should be in this industry. I get passionate about this stuff. Here we go. All right. We're addicted to busy. My story about this one, it's embarrassing but true. It was a moment in time. Sometimes a moment in time just teaches you a lesson, right? I was at my health club. I was leaving for the day. I was going to pick up kids from soccer. And I was like texting the babysitter. And then a phone call came through from a trainer I was working with, and a member was waiting to talk to me about something. And I'm clearly too busy. Like, what? Can't you see me, lady? I'm texting people. I'm on calls. I'm on a mission sprinting out of my club. Like, I'm too busy to be bothered. And Patsy was one of my first members. And I just captured this moment in my mind that, like, what does Patsy see in me right now? A busy, stressed out, I'm too busy for you leader. And that's not who I want to be. So I stopped. I hung up with whoever the babysitter was or trainer was, and I just stood there in the lobby of my health club. And I said, Patsy, I'm so sorry. Like, do you want to talk to me? She's like, I was just wondering if you would add another Zumba class to the schedule. And I was like, that's all she wanted. And it just hit me that we're addicted to busy. Was I so busy on my phone and texting and calling and because it made me feel good? Because it made me feel important? Because I felt needed? Or was I just so used to being everything everywhere all the time that that's just addiction? I have worked on this hard, and I can say that I could give myself an A- at this point in my life, that I don't feel fulfilled just being busy. I feel fulfilled being productive, and I have no problem shutting it all off. Right? Be present with who you're talking to. It's just a reminder. I had the occasion today to have a quick lunch with a friend who's here from out of town, who I really didn't have the time to see. I taught 2 classes, and I was going to see you guys on the Zoom. But she's in town. I wanted to see her. And I didn't even put my phone on the table face down like everybody does. Because what is this still telling everybody? You're important to me, but this thing is just as important. So if I'm talking to somebody, I won't have my phone even on the table. It's in my bag, turned off. This is who I'm with. This is where I'm present right now. Right? Being busy doesn't mean being needed, wanted, or important. All right. I thought of this lesson. I'm going to write a book someday. You got to hold me to this. I'm going to put all my lessons in a book and put all these stories on paper somehow. But I was outside playing basketball with my son, Colt, and it dawned on me that when you work, you are stealing from one area of your life to feed the other. Now, I'm not opposed to work. I love having a career. I love creating a successful career. I love having a business to be proud of. But I realize that when I'm working right now on the Zoom with you, when I'm working, I am right now, if I looked at it technically, stealing this time from the other part of my life, which is my kids are at sailing camp right now in Lake Huron. I could be there watching them. So I have to then judge, am I making it count? Was the time to prepare this and get on with you? I'm just using this as an example, of course, whatever it is in your trade, right? I taught 2 classes this morning. Was it worth it to be there? Because I'm stealing that time for my family, and I'm stealing that time for myself. No, 9 times out of 10 these days, my answer is yes. That what I'm doing is worth that time away from my own time or my family time. I would like you to start thinking about that. When you work, you're stealing from one life to feed the other. Make it count. So let me give you some examples of where we're just all blowing it off. If you're just like scrolling Facebook pretending to work, if you are just mindlessly reading emails, if it could take you 30 minutes to write up a workout and you give yourself 90, there's so many things we do without any sense of urgency or deadline. And I try not to operate that way anymore because I either want to be on, working, or off. I don't like this lukewarm, just milk out things. Either be on, get out, get out. Make sense? When you work, make it count. Next time you're in a project working on something, decide, and what I'm doing right now, is it so world class? Am I giving it my all that it's worth it to be away from other parts of my life? Answer the question yes. If not, get out, get re-inspired, and come back to it. All right, so in the same concept, being fierce about your time. Here's how I mean fierce about my time. I know what my day is going to look like. I don't play it by chance. All right, I'm going to show you my time management in a couple of slides, but I'm committed to my time. If it is my time to work out, I'm working out. If I am working with my coaching team, I'm working with them. If I'm working at my club, if I'm off with my husband, if I'm off with my kids, life doesn't just happen to me. It's life by design. That doesn't mean I love every single thing I do. I just make it show up in my life and I get it done. I schedule off time as much as I schedule on time. I schedule massages, walks with my dogs, getting my nails done, whatever. I schedule off time as much as I schedule things I want to do, but I'm fierce about my time. And I'm fiercely competitive about how much I can get done in the amount of time I have. That might not work for you, but it works for me. Right? I want to know that in any given moment that I am the most productive person I know. It's this weird standard, and I'm not saying I'm better than you. I'm not competing with you guys. I'm just competing with myself. In any given moment, whatever I'm working on, I'm the hardest working person I know because then I can get in and get done. I'm fierce about my time. If you are as fierce about your time as you were about your workouts, it'd be a different ballgame. When you're with your clients, if you're doing like Tabatas, like that watch matters, right? Every second counts. What if you had that attitude in your work life when you're generating, new projects or new camps you want to lead, or you're redesigning something at your club or your marketing or social media? What if you came to it with that kind of attitude of every second counts? All right. Stress is not a bad thing. Stress without recovery is a bad thing. I have a book that I'm reading. I was hoping that was on my dresser here somewhere. It is called Stressaholic. I guess I needed it. You find the right tool when you need it, right? It's called Stressaholic. I met the author at a workshop, and so I bought her book. And what I love about the book is all of her research about stress isn't a bad thing. As you know, if you've been an athlete or an entrepreneur or trainer, that some of your greatest moments in life happen under stress because you can obviously rise to the occasion. Lots of things happening internally, chemical changes in your body that help you rise to the occasion and offer your best. The problem is stress without recovery, chronic stress, bad for your health, bad for your psyche. So this is a picture of my son and I in our backyard playing in the lake. And I use this picture in particular because this is a Sunday, I had spent the majority of this day working on a new training program, a business course it wasn't actually this one, but one similar. I was working on a business course and I'd been in my office all day. And I realized that stress, I'm under a deadline. Stress is good. Stress without recovery is bad. Okay. Give yourself a chance to regroup. Balance is not about equal time. It is about, this is like the meatiest page right here. So hang with me. It is, this is a tough one. Balance is about equal time. It's about equal priority. So here is what I'd love for you to just write down, and you can do the exercise later. All right. There are different areas of life that should matter to you. And what I sometimes do in courses is have people just write down these areas of life and then rate themselves. Okay. So there's lots of different areas of life that you can look at. I'm just going to offer a few. So financial, how are you doing financially? Are you in huge debt? Are you paying off debt? Are you saving? Are you earning? Right. So how is your financial life? Spiritual, whatever that is for you. If you have a spiritual life, are you feeding it? What are you doing for it? That could be, in my book, anything from meditation to, if you are religious, following your religion. What are you doing to fuel your spiritual side? This is family. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how solid do you feel about your family life? Then adventure. This is a great one. On a scale of 1 to 10, when's the last time you did something adventurous? Booked a trip, went away for the weekend, went on a hike, took a new trail, went windsurfing, went paddleboarding. What's your adventure like in life? Career. On a scale of 1 to 10, how fired up are you about your career and your future? I'm hoping that one's an 8, 9, or 10. I'm going to put relationships on there. So this could be anything else. This could be relationships with friends. This could be relationships with coworkers. How solid do you feel about your other relationships in life? Okay. Love. This can be self-love. This can be how much do you love the person that you're with in life, love your partner, love your significant other. Love. And then the last one I'm going to throw at you today is impact. How much do you feel like you are making a difference? How much do you feel like you are making a difference? If you're gone tomorrow, what would be noticed? What are you putting out there? Who are you impacting? Right? A lot of times with audiences, I add fitness on there. You can add that. I'm assuming the group of people I'm talking to are pretty dialed in their fitness, but that would be the other one that you would normally rate is your fitness. Okay. What I have found when I've done this with people before, rating themselves 1 to 10, this is what you usually see is that someone who's gotten pretty dialed into their personal development and pretty dialed into themselves as a leader, you're trying to get an 8 or above in all categories. Someone who is a new entrepreneur or a growing, budding business owner is like some 8s and 9s and then a bunch of 2s. It's pretty drastic, the difference that I see in people. The ones that are usually 2s are like relationship, love, adventure, spirituality. Those seem to fall from the list the fastest. So that's just a good exercise to look at. When I look at balance, it isn't about equal time. So if I look at that list, it's not like I spend exactly 3 hours a day in each of those areas. I don't spend 3 hours with my family, 3 hours with career, 3 hours in fitness, 3 hours in adventure. It's not equal time. It's not equal time. It's having these all represented in your life. No 2s, basically. No 2s. I see you guys have some questions up top. I will answer them at the end. Okay. So the last one in this one is the way you live your day is the way you live your life. I love this quote because this is just so true. You can't wait to be happy when your facility is more profitable, when you have a bigger team to help you. This is a huge one. It's going to be challenging when you get to that point. So the way you live today is really reflective of how you're living your life. So I often ask people, my favorite lesson on this one, maybe you want to do this with somebody important in your life to practice this, is I have people write out their ideal day. It's so fun. When I did this, I just started to make this happen. I had my sister do this with me a couple years ago. We just made massive changes in her life. So I want you to go from what time do you want to get up in the morning? What do you want to do first thing? And I hope it's not email, right? I did this in a similar question in a workshop at PTI a couple years ago, and this dude just immediately raised his hand. You know what he told me? When I was like, what do you want to do first thing? And he's like, hand up. I'm like, I got it. You got a girlfriend. I got it. Okay, let's not get too detailed or too graphic, right? But, get it down to what do you want your morning to look like? What time do you want to get up? Who do you want to see in the morning? What do you want your day to look like? Are you doing your own workout before you do work? Are you doing some personal development? Are you doing some meditation? Are you getting a good breakfast? Are you designing out your day, working on your to-do list, working on your calendar? When do you want to see clients? When do you want to see family? By the way, you'll never achieve that ideal day if you don't initially start to design it out. It was when I worked on this and I don't say this to be boastful or to feel like she's lazy. I do not want to start work before 9 a.m. And that's so late in this industry. I love working till midnight. I'm on fire at midnight. I'm game on 9 p.m. to midnight. So if I'm going to do that, I want to then get up at like 7. Then I want to take my dogs for a walk. I want to make my kids breakfast, right? I want to do things before I start working at 9. So I didn't realize that's what I wanted until I got presented this question of what do you want your ideal day to look like? So I want you to think about that. What time ideally would you disconnect? What time would you go to bed at night? I was in a presentation once where the woman said that she actually sets her alarm. This is key, not to get up, but she sets her alarm to remind herself when to go to bed. I thought that was pretty cool. All right, focus. Here we go. We're doing all right so far. Let me just I can't look at your questions really quick because it throws my mouse off, but we're almost done. All right, focus. What the focus is what this means. It's one of my favorite lines. I learned it from Darren Hardy, WTF everywhere. All I'm saying on this one is basically shut down distraction. So on my computer, on the top right of my computer screen where it says notifications, they are always off. I live the majority of my day with my phone. See why no messages are coming through right now? Phone on airplane mode. It is such a game changer. We are such little squirrels. Beeps, tweets, texts, messages, like, how do you get anything done? How do you get anything world-class done? Right? Like your mind's a garden. I'm so protective of my thoughts because I feel like we can all create great things. So what the focus to me means, when I'm working, I work. I shut down distraction. I don't have emails going. You'll look, if I could take my computer off screen right now, you'd see all of my programs are closed. My notifications are off. My phone's on airplane mode. Just a simple tip for you. Okay, 6 rules. This is a huge lesson. It could be game changing for you. I really appreciate your attention today. I hope you're getting some good ideas from this. Another game changing day in my life was in Dallas, Texas. This was probably 4 years ago. Sometimes I lose track of time. Years ago. And I went to a conference in Dallas hosted by the Franklin Covey Institute. Franklin Covey, Stephen Covey, right? 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Cool. Love that you know it. And I didn't want to go to this conference. It was in February. It's not easy to travel from Michigan in February. The roads were crappy. There's icy conditions. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to leave my kids. I went. I'm so glad I did. In this conference, the moderator stood up. We were all at round tables, much like a small group, like we were at this pre-con, like 30 of us. And she had us all write down on a piece of paper how many roles we have in life. Basically, how many hats do you wear? So I just kept writing. I was a soccer coach, club owner, Beachbody coach, mom, wife, friend, sister, on the chamber board, on the DARE board, an entrepreneur, in a mastermind group, run the Corporate Fit Challenge, blah, 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 blah. I filled up pages. The moderator said, all right, I'm going to have you raise your hand. How many of you have more than 10 roles? And I was like, game on, sister. She's like, 12. Yeah. 15. Woo. 20. Yeah. So I'm kind of competitive. And so it got down to like a couple of us in the room and like my hand's still up. So I'm the last woman standing. And then she drops the bomb and says, if you have more than 6 roles, you're not very good at any of them. And my husband was there at the conference with me. And I was like, I'm sorry, Jeff, did she say 6 or 16? And he's like, she said 6. I'm like, crap, 6. So why did that change my life? Because I assume that people who've done more research on success than I have know what they're talking about. So when someone who helped author and come up with all of the research for the book, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, and the Franklin Covey Institute's gone on to do great things, they know more than I do. So when she says you should have 6 roles, I had some serious hacking to do in my life. And I did. I came home and I cut one of the biggest revenue streams at my club. I know some people know this story. I'm not going to tell the whole thing. I had a revenue stream at my club that was very profitable and required very little of my time. But when I looked at what I really wanted my 6 roles to be, it just didn't end up on there. So it was a struggle to decide, why would I pull the plug on a revenue stream if it's bringing money in? But I'm like, I'm going to trust this. And I'm telling you, you've heard this kind of thing before, but man, is it true? When I got it down to 6 things, and I pulled the plug on things in the club that were not filling me up, even though they were bringing in money, it opened up space and time for my life to 10 freaking X. And I'm telling you, that's what I did. So when I looked at things like the DARE board, the chamber board, all these other community of organizations I was involved in, although they mattered to me, I'm trusting the process that it's not in my 6 roles. It was club owner, coach, mother, not in this order, right? You don't have to order them. They all matter. Wife, trainer, presenter, right? For a long time, before I could really feel like I could focus on presenting, my 6th role was manager of myself. So if it didn't fit in those 6, it's not that it couldn't matter to me. It just needed to take one step outside. So what I did was go to all those organizations I was involved in. And I just said, I got back from a conference. I'm scattered in life. I need to be more focused. I'm narrowing my focus to these areas. Can I use my club or my coaching business to do a fundraiser for DARE or a fundraiser for the Chamber of Commerce and give to you that way? So it was like beautiful. Like I look for ways that I can serve other roles in life by my main roles. So this is a weird one to me, but I'm just gonna be honest, friendship. Friend wasn't one of my 6 roles. That's not because I don't like having friends or I'm not a friendly person. I'm telling you, I had 6 roles and it just wasn't one. So instead I thought, okay, well, if somebody's in my life as a family member, as a spouse, my child, on my coaching team or in my club, that's probably who I need to focus my friendships on. And I know that sounds harsh, but leadership is not easy. You got to decide, like, how much do you want to create a life of purpose and passion, a life that you design? You got to trust the process and narrow your focus to 6 roles. Okay. It doesn't speak to everybody. Hope it speaks to you. Your roles don't have to be ranked. I didn't have to sit there and have the internal debate of, am I a mom or a wife? Am I a business owner or a wife? Like, dude, just 6 roles. They're all in a little pie. They all matter. Right? Any given day, one might take priority. Maybe it's being a father, a sister, a cousin, whatever it is to you, a mentor or leader, just make them all matter. All right, this is how crazy I am about my roles. I color code them, and this is me putting them in my calendar. What? This is me putting them in my calendar. All right, so you can't just say you have 6 roles. You then have to go the Virgo type A craziness of putting them in your calendar. All right. All right. Know what makes you, so focus, know what makes you happy, and 10x it. Oh, since we're in my home office, I can show you guys this. I did this cool exercise at the beginning of the year where I looked in my phone and I scrolled through to see what made me happy last year. If it showed up, if I look through my phone and I saw things that made me happy. So look at, I made a really cool, see that my dream board, it says life is beautiful. I take this stuff seriously, people. All right, this is my dream board, my home office. I have like quotes of things I like, magnets of things I like. These are my goals for the year. I know you can't see them all, but they're right there. Those are my goals for the year. And then this is, I'll take it down. This is my happiness board. So I went through my phone and I just screenshotted the times in 2015 that I was happiest. And I put it into a collage. And now this is focus, how I help decide what I'm going to say yes to and what I'm going to say no to. So if I'm thinking about something I want to take on or something I want to do, hosting a barbecue at my house, saying yes to a speaking engagement, going on a trip, whatever, I look. I'm like, I already lived last year. Did it show up on my dream board? Did I love it last year? Did I do something like that? If it doesn't show up on here, I got to think. Do I want to do that again? This really helped me. When I looked at it, it was like, wow, there's a picture of me in my hometown in Wisconsin or the 4th of July. Why did that end up on here? It was a really quick trip. Like, I loved it. So I decided to not just be happy, but be 10x happy. And all the things that appeared on here, I want to do more of. Why did it turn out that I have a picture of me drinking a cappuccino? Can you guys see that? Like, that was one of my happiest days. I was reading a novel, not a business book, which I normally read. I was reading a novel, sitting at a coffee shop by myself. I'm like, wow, the fact that that made me so happy, I should do that more often. Okay, makes sense? You don't know how to create your dream life and how to focus unless you have the opportunity to reflect back on what has made you happy in the past and how can you 10x it. So that's a picture of me just with my sisters going home for an extra trip. Didn't need to be a reason, just went home for a visit because apparently that's a happy place for me. All right. Oh, boom. I even had it on the screen for you, but wasn't it even more effective that I took it off my wall? Okay. So those are things that make me happy in life. And I just like to look at them. The collage I use, for those of you that actually want to do this and be like top 3%ers, I went to pickcollage.com. I made myself a quick collage. I can look at it and reflect on it, make decisions from it. All right, grind and unwind. This is a phrase that I coined that I really like. It's me paddleboarding after a long day of work. So the whole idea that you have to recover from stress, this is a similar concept. You have to grind, work hard, focus, then give yourself the gift to unwind. The goal is not to be the busiest. The goal is not to work around the clock, right? We're not on an assembly line. There's no glory in working around the clock. Grind, be super proud of what you create, unwind. People in your life will appreciate you more, will love you more, you'll love yourself more. Okay? Home stretch, leadership. If you live the rat race, they won't follow you. This is a picture of one of my best friends. Her name is Sarah Morrison. She's worked for me at the club for 10 years. We worked together on my online coaching team for the past 6 years. We're both moms, wives. We're now an amazing place in our life, but for a long time we were not. Why? Because when she first worked for me at the club, I saw that she was tracking her hours, even though she was on salary. And it just grinded me. It annoyed me that when I walked by her office, she had this teeny little notebook and she'd like check her hours at the club. And like, you know, and if it got to 39, it was like, I'm out, people, right? I'm like, that's not the way to live. Like some weeks are more, some are less. Just do your work. Don't count the clock. That's just, I didn't like the punch the clock mentality. Well, just because I didn't like the punch the clock mentality doesn't mean that I'd ever expressed that to her. So one day she's in my office and I just said, Sarah, I got to ask you the question. This is 8 years ago. This is us now, very happy. 8 years ago, I said to her, what's the deal? Why do you track all your hours here? right? You're on a salary, you get paid, well, you teach classes, you're in communication. I think you like what you do. And she's like, because I don't want what you have. And I was like, what do you think I have? And she said, a rat race. You're always in a hurry. You're always stressed out. You're always late. You never have enough time for anything. It was just like seeing that if she followed me, that's where I would take her. Super eye-opening to me. Do you ever take the time to ask the people around you, how do you see me? If she hadn't told me that, if we hadn't had that conversation, I don't know that I could have changed as quickly or efficiently as I think I did. I really started just taking more deep breaths in life, slowing down, getting in on these lessons of being more focused, saying no to things, being more present. I know it sounds as simple as when I'd come into work, even if I were in a hurry, I would literally stop calmly and walk. I'd stop and say hi to people. I'd make more eye contact. It's these little things. I also started talking to people in my life, people who I wanted to follow me in terms of like, I wanted to create more leaders around me. I started talking to them about my hobbies. I started talking to them about my marriage and other things that made me happy. I started bringing my personal life more into my business. So they saw that, wow, she is really happy. She does have these other things she likes to do. She does like to kick back with a glass of wine and read a magazine. She's human. Maybe that's not you. Maybe that's not what you need to share, but I needed to share that. There's no glory in Superwoman. And I have a friend in my life who every time he emails me as Wonder Woman. And I kind of cringe, even though it's super nice, kind of cringe. So I'm like, I don't want to be Wonder Woman, right? I want to be known for working really hard, but I also like to I'm not a superhero, right? I'm not trying to save the world, I'm just trying to save my corner of it, right? So if you live a rat race, they probably won't want to follow you. This is a great picture from just a couple weeks ago at a boot camp we had on the beach. Just a good visual for success is won in inches. It's a great quote from Vince Lombardi, "Inches make the champion," the great Packers coach, one of the most winningest coaches of all time. And the whole idea of inches make the champion is how many times in this past football season, if you watched, were games won in overtime or at the very end, like Hail Mary pass, right? A ton. So it's like success is won at the very buzzer, at the very end. So when you think about this in your business, success for you is planning out your social media an hour more than you do right now, taking a little bit closer look at your marketing, interviewing your clients, dialing in your client avatar, doing your marketing calendar. Like it's these little things compounded over time that make a strong business. There's not one grandiose move you're going to make in your business that's going to blow it up. So Ryan, I remember you said when you got back from IDEA, you realized there wasn't any big move you needed to make in the industry. Like you're doing the right things. Cool. So challenge yourself to do the things you're doing a little bit better, right? Success isn't won in landslides. It's won in inches. I feel like I look to offer value to my clients and value to my teammates at my club at every turn. At every single turn. So just a quick, simple example from the fitness industry today. I taught a strength training camp to a group of women back to back with I taught a Pilates class. What are those little inches that I did today? And you are all amazing trainers, right? So I'm not comparing at all, but these are just little things that I think about. For both of these camps, both these things I did, I made brand new playlists this morning. For both of these, I thought about like, what's something I could do that would make them talk when they walk out the door. And I made them do gratitude shares. They had to turn to the person next to them and share 2 things they were grateful for in the day. Just little tiny experiences that we can create for other people is where real success lies. All right. You may have heard this at IDEA. This is so funny. I think that Chicken Soup for the Soul guy took credit for this, but I really heard it from Darren Hardy first. It's don't be an asshole. Right? I love that concept. Like be free. This is why I picked a picture of me jumping. Just be free. There's so many things you need to do as a leader, decisions to make on hiring, on firing, on adding new classes, on adding nutrition, on so many decisions that you can make. At some point, just make the freaking decision. Be free. Stop asking for so much advice is the point of this slide. Stop asking for so much advice. Trust your gut. Don't be an asshole. There isn't one right way. All right, last 2. To make better decisions, research solidly shows that we need to make fewer decisions. So I first read about this in an article in Time magazine years ago, where they talked about most presidents wear the same color tie and wear the same suit and wear the same, they basically buy like 50 white shirts, 50 black suits, 50 blue or red ties, right? And they don't want to think about, when they get dressed to go to work that day, to head to the Oval Office, they don't want to think about what they're wearing. And I remember reading this article thinking, why? That's so weird. Is it like a uniform? And it was like, no, that was one less decision they can make. So I started making this, really implementing this in my life, even down to my nutrition, right? So everyone does their own thing. This is just my share, but I do believe in just consistency and simplicity. So we use a healthy cooking service in my community. So it's funny, Ryan, that you had a woman there who does that. And most of our meals during the week, most of our dinners during the week are covered, right? We buy them. They get delivered every Monday and Wednesday. I have the same thing for breakfast almost every single day, right? Pretty simple. I like half a banana and hard-boiled egg. Wow. Right? I make a shake every day for lunch. I have an afternoon salad, and then dinner is always pre-prepared. So these are just decisions I don't have to make. I always have a fridge cut up of fresh fruit in containers. I don't want to have to think through my meals, right? So that's just one example. I know when I'm going to get my workout in. So the fewer decisions we make in life, the better decisions we make. I put this picture in of my assistant, Amanda. She's my business manager. She's amazing. And this shows that we were going on a trip about a month ago. I was keynoting at a conference, and I looked at everything I needed to do the best job I could do at this keynote. And what else could I delegate to her? So booking the trips, helping with the handouts, booking the hotels, like things like that. I know these are just little things, but these are little decisions I'd have to make that were taking away from the big focus of delivering the content. So maybe you have the ability in life to start delegating some smaller things, to start getting somebody to help you domestically or at work. The fewer decisions you make, the better decisions you make. Take it seriously. Last one. This is a picture of a bunch of women in a strength training boot camp that I lead called Body Beauty. And this is one of our classes recently. We're doing the heart over our chest, obviously. And what I'd say to you as a leader is to be effective as a leader, you need heart and armor. The very simple lesson here is that in order to really impact people, you have to be open to getting hurt. That's actually the lesson. In order to really impact people, to mentor people, to grow people, to serve people, you got to open yourself up to getting hurt. It's not just in love and in relationships. This is in business. I've learned this 100 times over in leading a club and leading a coaching team over the years, that when you get emotionally connected to people, when you care about them, that's what we're supposed to do. You just have to have the armor so when you get hurt, you can rebound. So I've gotten better over time about not taking things as personally. It's one of the 4 agreements in that book, the 4 agreements, never take anything personal. It's so true. People are going to hurt your feelings. They're going to leave your business. They're going to open up a place down the road. People are going to stab you in the back. People are going to gossip about you, tear you down, right? If you just know that going into this thing called life and business, just have some armor when it happens and don't take things so personally. I used to take things so personally. I'd worry all the time about what somebody thought about me, or was I not helping them enough, or, and I just have been able over time to kind of let that go. Show up as my best self as often as I can. Give yourself a little grace, and then have armor when things go wrong. So that is where I'm ending it today. You guys were amazing. Thank you for being on. I see that there are some questions down there in the chat box. Let me answer these really quick and then I will hang up. What strategy do you use to maintain a positive mindset when your members are the ones who are negative towards great subs, instructors, or change in the group fitness department? Yeah, it's so funny. This is terrible in clubs. Like the notes and the letters they leave us when a sub happens or something changes, like those are just negative people in your world, negative people in your business. I mean, the first thing that we do is I just don't pretend like it didn't happen. So we have this one woman in our club that's just chronically, negative. And so I just don't ignore it anymore. And we just go right to it. And I actually had my general manager say to one of our members recently, we love that you come to class. We love that you're front row. We love that you're here, but we support our team. And sometimes you just got to stand up and say, we support our team. And this isn't junior high. And I love you and I want to hear from you. If there's something we can do to improve the class, start on time, change up the music, offer more dynamic warm up, give you more of a cool down. If there's something tangible we can take from it, cool. But if you just don't like somebody, that's not enough. We had 2 members in the front row of class recently walk out of class when they saw it was a sub. And it was sad. I was the one that was supposed to be teaching, and I was out of town, and one of my really good friends taught for me. I felt so bad for her when she said that when they saw it wasn't me, they walked out. And so she feels empowered. She walked out after them and said, hey, I know that Trina's not here today, and I bet you wish she were, but I'm here. She just called them out. Right? So I think, Stacey, the answer is do what you would have done in kindergarten before you had any fear. You just would say something. You would just speak up, have open dialogue and say, you know, we support our whole team. If there's constructive criticism we can offer, awesome. But other than that, this isn't junior high. All right. Do you have a consistent morning routine when you rate the important parts of your life? How do you do this on a regular basis and how often? So yes, I have a consistent morning routine. I'll tell you in a second. And then when I look at the parts of my life, maybe you ask this question, which is a great one, before I put up my calendar. If it shows up in my calendar, it shows up in my life. If I look at my calendar and the color purple is missing, I'm not having a lot of family time. If blue is missing, I don't have a lot of self-time. Right? So for me, it's like, I don't know that I have like an evaluation once a month where I sit down and look at my life. I think that because I've started to do more of these things, I'm much more mindful of it. So when you first do that, rating yourself 1 to 10, figuring out your roles, a lot of it is just like setting the foundation for it. Then once I actually implemented it into my life, it's really hard for something to go in the rearview mirror in my life. Okay. I mean, there used to be, right? My health was a mess. My fitness was a mess. My relationships were a mess. You know, lots of that things were messy until I got things all out in front of me. Does that make sense? How often do I attend my instructor's classes? So I own the gym, but at this point, 10 years into it, I also have people who help me run it. So I would say that most of my instructors have somebody there in class offering feedback on a monthly basis. Right, on a monthly basis. I also like them to come to my classes so I can see their form, so they can see my energy, so they can go, you know, emulate that in their own ways. But yeah, feedback is the breakfast of champions. Chronic, consistent, honest, direct, immediate feedback. We covered that in the workshop. Hopefully you remember. Good stuff. Anything else? Are we good? You hung on here with me. I'm sweating. Thank you. I tried to go so fast. I appreciate that you're on. I will send the recording out in an email as well. Stay in touch with me, everybody. You are world class for being on here today. Have a great day.